Hi there. So about 3 years ago, I made a video that was my very first video, and it was about me going over all of the Japanese vinyl in my collection. I thought that now, since I've accumulated maybe another 20 to 30, I thought that might really be a really fun video to do, and just so you can kind of see more about what I like music-wise. So yeah, let's get started here. Because I will be going through so many in this video, I'm trying to really limit my thoughts on each album to maybe no more than like 2 sentences. They might be run-on sentences and they might have a lot of conjunctions maybe, but I'm gonna try to keep it short so that this isn't like a video essay length video. So with that said, let's get started. So my first one here is called In the Dark Woods by Akira Tosemura. And it's kind of this very orchestral album that was used as a soundtrack for, I believe, a show. And it has a really cool song on here that did not actually make it to the vinyl, maybe for like licensing reasons, because I think it was maybe used in some kind of program or publication. So they couldn't have it on this one. I think that's my full 2 sentences. So yeah, check it out if you like orchestral background music soundtrack stuff. It's really, really good. So the second album is Fishing by Chelmiko. I think my favorite song here is probably Himitsu. And if you kind of like pop rap, I think you'd like this too. Yeah, I'd say check it out. But I'm probably gonna say that for all the albums here. So you should check it out anyway though. So yeah. Next is another Chelmiko vinyl. This is actually an EP. And probably my favorite songs on here would be Cozy and NES. Cozy would go on to be used on my favorite album of theirs, which I absolutely love and am planning to cover on my channel as well. So my next tier is Chibo Mato's Viva La Woman. This is an album from the 90s that covers all sorts of genres. I don't have enough time to speak about it, but if you like punk, but also jazz and bossa nova, and you like Post by Bjork, you'd probably like this a lot too. So I'd say check this out. Also, if you like Gorillaz, because one of the members sings all over that first Gorillaz album. So if you like them, check this out for sure. Next is Larderello by Dos Monos from 2021. They are a very fun rap group from Japan. This album was released on the record label Death Bomb Arc, which is also the label that JPEG Mafia was on too. And so for that reason, they also have a song on here called Occupied, which is a reference to the EP series by JPEG Mafia. So if you like him, check it out. They're all over the place, and this album cover is just super cool. And their first album is really good too, so I say check that out. Next we have Underwater by the band Elephant Gym. They're from Taiwan, so they're not technically Japanese. However, this album features some Japanese artists, such as Kento Nagatsuka, who is from the band Wonk. And then it also has Ye, who is this fantastic sort of folk electronic pop singer from Japan. She's really fantastic. She has this great 2016 album that I think you should check out if you're into that more sing-song pop sort of chill sort of music. Next is Eternity by the band Ford Tracy Hyde. They are a quintessential Japanese shoegaze band, so if you like them, you'd probably be into this a whole ton. This is my favorite album of theirs. I know other people have other opinions on what their best is, but this is for sure mine. So as for my favorite track, it's probably a toss-up between Welcome to Cookieville, Radio Days, Desert Bloom. Chewing Gum USA is pretty fun, and Just Like Fireflies, which I think is the kind of standout hit from this album. This album's also weird in that there is a Barack Obama interlude, which is called Interdependence Day. I think it's part 1, because there's a part 2 on here as well. Yeah, it's a really cool album, and if you like shoegaze, you really need to listen to this. It is so great. Next is one of my favorite albums of all time, which is First Love by Hikaru Utada. So my favorite songs in here would probably be Automatic and In My Room. They're probably 2 of my favorite pop songs ever. Check this out if you have not. It is a classic. Similarly, we have Deep River by Hikaru Utada. This is my maybe 3rd favorite of her albums, so for that reason I have it on vinyl. There are all kinds of hits on here too. My favorite songs on here are probably Sakura Drops and Traveling. It's just got really cool, like futuristic production on it, so if you're kind of into electronic dance, this is for sure something that you would really like. Speaking of electronic dance, we also have my favorite Hikaru Utada album, which is Bad Mode from 2022. Probably my maybe 3rd or 4th favorite album ever. It's produced by lots of fantastic producers such as A.G. Cook, Floating Points, even Skrillex has a mention on here because of the Kingdom Hearts song from Kingdom Hearts 3. And there is also a song by someone who has worked with Wednesday Campanella in the past, production-wise. So that song is super cool on here too. And yeah, this is just one of my favorite albums ever. Now this next one is something of a hot take. This is my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, and it thereby has my favorite Studio Ghibli soundtrack, and that is The Wind Rises. I think this soundtrack is just so cool. I love the movie. I love that it's almost like a biography with some more fantastical elements, but also some kind of reinterpretations of what actually happened in history. This is all over the place. It's got some great orchestral stuff, and then it's got some kind of really nice throwback pop songs too. So check this one out too, please. Next is another one of my favorite albums of all time, which is Stardust in Blue by the artist Kaede, which is also co-produced the entirety of by the band Lamp. So this is one of the few Lamp vinyl to actually exist. So I'm very fortunate that I have this in hand. This album is just super fun. It's super like heartfelt and just very sentimental. I think if you just love Lamp's music in general, you would automatically love this no matter how you feel about the actual lead artist on it. So this next one is kind of an honorable mention. They aren't a Japanese band, but they do sing in Japanese sometimes, and that is Quero Quero Bonito's Time and Place. This album is so cool. If you like punk music or experimental punk or pop, this is definitely for you. I always like to say that this album sounds like a creepypasta, so if that sounds interesting to you, I say check it out. Next in the collection is Multiple by the band Light. This is a math rock album. This is probably my favorite of theirs. I know that's probably a hot take too, because they have some real classic math rock albums in their discography, but for me, it's definitely this one. Next on the list is Search and Destroy by the band Lubby Sparks. They are this really interesting mix of Japanese pop and also English pop and Brit pop too. All of the songs are in English, and I think that's consistent across their entire discography. This album is particularly fantastic. I think my favorite song on here is probably Honey. I also really like One Last Girl and also the closing song, which is also the title track called Search and Destroy. If you kind of like that Brit pop kind of soft rock maybe sound, I think you'd like this a lot too. This was a pickup for me when I went to Japan last year, and I'm so happy I brought it back and in perfect condition too. I just generally think this is a really fantastic album. This is the album No New World by the band Mass of the Fermenting Dregs. This is from 2018. They were on, I believe, an 8-year hiatus when this came out, and then they came back, and this is probably now one of my favorite albums of all time. As you can see, I have it signed because that's how I live my life. This is a perfect 10 out of 10 album, definitely in my top 5, maybe 10 albums of all time, so check it out. So 4 years after that album, we got their follow-up, which is called Awakening, and then is that like a semicolon? No, just a colon, Sleeping. I think my favorite songs in here are probably Birds and Rhythm, as well as Dramatic. I think Dramatic is maybe one of my favorite shoegaze songs ever. I have this signed as well because that's just what's up. Next is the Mass of the Fermenting Dregs Live in Japan vinyl. I got this from a, I believe, Kickstarter that I helped with, I think, 2 years ago. So this is a collection of all of their pretty much favorite songs that they had played prior to that 2018 album and had on their previous EPs, of which they have many, and on their previous album as well. So these are all re-recorded versions from 2023, and they all sound fantastic. Probably one of my favorite live albums because it's live, but they're like live in a studio, so it's kind of a regular studio performance. So check it out. I really recommend this one too. Lastly, I have the EP You by Mass of the Fermenting Dregs on a 7-inch vinyl. This only has 2 songs on it, and I had to pre-order it, but it also came signed, so I'm showing it off here. You is also a fantastic song, also very shoegazy, but still leaning into their kind of more punk sort of side of their sound. So yeah, there's that one. I also forgot that I had one more Mass of the Fermenting Dregs album, which is Kira Metal. This is another EP. I believe this might actually be their first EP that they ever released. However, this vinyl only came out like 4 months ago. It's only got 3 songs on it, but boy, are these 3 songs really good. And the art is just fantastic, as is the art on all their covers. So yeah. So next is the album Kietsukeru Echo by the artist Hisato Higuchi. I got this in a random ass vinyl secondhand store, and I said, wow, that's a Japanese album. So I picked it up, and this is maybe one of the saddest albums I've ever listened to in my whole life. It is just depressing, but it also kind of works to kind of get that out of your system too. So if you're ever in that kind of mood, maybe listen to Hisato Higuchi, but don't do it if you're happy, because that's probably just going to ruin your whole day. So going back to the M section of the video, we have Kabuto Mushi by the artist Mei Simones. So she's actually American, but she sings each of the songs in about 50-50 Japanese and English. So it's here on the list, and it will be talked about on my channel because I love this. I've been listening to it frequently, like at least 3 times a week since it came out in like April. I think it is so fantastic. It is so great. I got it signed. I made it happen. Listen to this. It is one of my favorite projects of this whole year. So please check this one out if you have a chance. Okay, so next is potentially another hot take because I have my favorite Shishamo album, which is Shishamo 3. I think this is just fantastic soft rock, garage rock. I think it is so fun. It's got so many hits, in my opinion. I do also like Shishamo 4, and I do like 1 and 2. I never really got much into 6, 7, or 8. I think 5 is okay too. I think my favorite is probably, where is it? Nakaniwa no Kanojo Tachi. That is such a fun song, and a lot of this album is about reflecting on your life up to the present and also being agitated about how it might change in the future. And it just is a really nice album that I think is just super fun, but also very thought-provoking too. So check this out. Okay, next on the list is Ryo Fukui's legendary album Scenery. This is some classical kind of piano jazz that also has some other jazz elements to it too. Ryo Fukui is a fantastic pianist, so if you're kind of in something for the like fall, winter season, I think this would probably fit the bill perfectly. So next is actually kind of 3 separate albums in one sort of version here. So first I will be showing off the Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight video game soundtrack. I love the Persona dancing games. I think their soundtracks are fantastic, and they get fantastic guest producers to appear on them too. For me, without a doubt, my favorite song on this one is When the Moon's Reaching Out Stars, remixed by Hideki Naganuma. That's right, everyone's favorite internet funky uncle has a feature on here, and his song is definitely the best out of all of them. So if you like EDM and fun dance pop music, this is a good one. So that was Persona 3. Now let's talk about Persona 4. I think this is my favorite out of the dancing soundtracks, and it also just has fantastic guests on here too, such as Akira Yamaoka, who has worked on the Silent Hill soundtracks, and also features the guy behind Mondo Grosso? I don't listen to them, I just know his name, and I know he's on here, but he uses his real name and not his actual artist name for that project. But yeah. This is really good, and it has my favorite song that I have been listening to for the past 8 years consistently, which is Heaven, the Norihiko Hibino remix. That song is fantastic. That's probably what got me into jazz as a genre. Please check it out. It is such a heater. Oh my god. So naturally, our last one here is for Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. This has some pretty good songs. I'm not really a fan of too many of them. This has some tofu beats on here. He was also present on the Persona 4 album as well, and he has also worked a lot with Chelmiko, so I'm a pretty big Tofu Beats fan. Not my favorite, but this one's still pretty good, and if you like the Persona 5 soundtrack, then you'd probably naturally love this anyway. I kind of went over these in my Toe video for their new album, but this is their first project called New Sentimentality. It's very fun. It's got lots of classic Toe songs on here, which would then reappear on their very first debut album. I kind of just have it to have it. Not my favorite selection of songs on here, but still really good. So as a total inverse to that, this is my favorite Toe album by far, which is called For Long Tomorrow. It's got fantastic vocals, lyrics, instrumentation. It even features Asoko Toki, who is a pop singer from kind of the like late 90s until now in Japan. She's fantastic, and yeah, I really like this album a lot, and I would rate it a 10 out of 10 very easily. Next is probably the most popular Toe album, which is called The Book About My Idle Plot on a Vague Anxiety. And yes, I am holding this up in the right orientation. Sometimes it's like this on streaming services. It's this. This is the correct way to actually show the image. Not my favorite Toe album. As I said, For Long Tomorrow is my favorite. However, I will say that this does have a lot of math rock classic songs, and I would say that this is a mandatory listen if you do want to get into math rock. This is the one. Next is another Toe album called Hear You. I love this one a lot. I think the song A Desert of Human is fantastic. Love this, love this, love this. Personally, I like it more than the previous one, but again, that's a hot take. This is just kind of more accessible to get into, in my opinion. Next on the list is the EP Our Latest Number, also by the band Toe. I love this cover. I love the 4 songs on here. They are extremely depressing and sad, but also hopeful and beautiful. I think you should listen to this no matter what. I think if this EP was a full-fledged album, this would be one of my favorites of all time. So yeah, I hope that works as a pretty good recommendation. I love this. Next is a Toe vinyl single. This is for the song Mother. This is interesting because it's them producing for 2 rappers, and they are on here. And I think it actually works out super well. But again, it's just a single, so I am not about to say that this is my favorite album of theirs ever, because it's not an album. But check it out, it's only 1 song. And also, this cover is beautiful. Oh my god, look at that. And finally, for the Toe section is their latest album called Now I See the Light. This album is fantastic. I rated it on my channel. I will have a link to the video somewhere around here, and you should check it out. It is beautiful. It's got lots of vocals too, and it's got really cool wordplay. That's why I rated it very highly. It is a really, 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 really good album. Now, probably moving on to my favorite section is the work for my favorite band ever called Trico. This is their first album. This is their debut album called THE, or The. This is another math rock classic. And I also feel like this is maybe one of the most influential Japanese albums of the past like 15 years. That's how strongly I feel about it. This thing is fantastic. It's beautiful. And it was a fantastic debut album that I think set a very high standard in my mind for any future ones. Next is the second album from the band Trico called A&D, or you can also call it And. This thing is also fantastic. I don't like it as much as any of their other albums. I don't think this is maybe my least favorite, though it still has its own legs to stand on. I think the song Noradrenaline, fantastic starter, fantastic song, probably top 10 in my opinion, maybe even top 5 on a certain day. But this is really cool too. I think if you like more Indigo Let End poppy rock, you'd probably like this more than some of their other albums in their discography. So what can I say about this album other than this is my favorite album of all time? It has so many fantastic songs on here. All of the instrumentals are perfect. All of the vocals are perfect. All of the lyrics are perfect. All of the themes and motifs are just perfect, and the metaphors are perfect. Everything about this is perfect. Perfect, 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 perfect. You have to listen to this. You have to. You have to. I am going to hack you through this video and you're going to listen to this. I simply don't care. I simply don't care. So yeah, please check it out. And then just to finish out the Trico section is I have their EP for Potage. This has 2 songs on here. There is Potage and there is Boomuni Notte, which means Ride the Boom. I think Potage is probably one of my favorite Trico songs ever, maybe number 2, 3, or 4, depending on how I feel. Check out this EP, just 2 songs, but they're beautiful. And so they actually made this because they were touring as an opener for Chan, so this is very Chan-y if you are into that band. This album is from 2022 and is Ululu self-titled. I love this. It is so sweet and sentimental, and it is very Beatles-ish, kind of in a way. I think if you listen to it, you'd really see what I mean. I have so many favorite songs on here. I think it's probably a toss-up between Terminal, Kimi to Sugoshita Natsu, Drive Through is really good, Kaze is really good, Sekayo is also just really nice too. This is just such a cute soft rock and like pop album that it is just so fantastic. Please listen to this too. I want to make a video on it so bad. I think I will at some point, but I just need to find the words for it first. Next is Heart Dispatcher by the band Seapool. Seapool is one of my favorite bands ever, and unfortunately they are officially broken up. This has every one of their songs, their entire discography. I got this from clevereagle.com. Please buy this. This is so cool. This is like 90s post-rock to the max. This is like nu metal to the max. This is like punk rock to the max. It is so cool. I actually want to make a video on this so bad. Please check it out. This rocks. Next is the vinyl for the first review I ever made, which is Ramble in the Rainbow by the band Tom Tom. This is so cool. It's kind of this like neo-soul, jazz, just sort of chill rock album. Check it out. It's got fantastic vibes and the instrumentation is beautiful on this thing. This is Neon by Wednesday Campanella. I made a video on this as one of my first few. I think this is so cool. If you like hyperpop or just kind of pop or EDM in general, I think you'd like this a lot. I will also link my video for it here somewhere, so check it out. I think you should. This thing is so good. Lastly, we have the other Wednesday Campanella vinyl that I have called Rabbit Star. I also made a video on this. This is probably my favorite Wednesday Campanella project with the new singer Utaha. Check this out. It is so cool. It's technically an EP, but I believe there's like 6 songs on here, so it's still pretty beefy. Yeah, I think this is fantastic and is a mandatory listen for anyone who wants to get into Japanese hyperpop. Okay, so that was it. That was my whole collection. I think I plan to do update videos every year as I get more in my collection. So yeah, hopefully you liked this. Hopefully you got some good recommendations for stuff to check out. And hopefully I have more to show you in the next update video too. So thank you for watching, and yeah, stick around. I probably have some cool reviews coming out, and I think you'll like them because I made them and I like my videos. So have a good rest of your day, and thank you for watching.